everyone. I'm Carol Ann Riddell, and welcome to Arts in the City. First up, we head uptown. Our Donna Hanover takes us to a hidden oasis of inspired arts, incredible views, and gorgeous gardens.
Wave Hill is a 28-acre public garden and cultural center in the Bronx that actually has several gardens. One huge draw is the amazing view, as we heard from senior horticultural interpreter Jess Brey.
We're standing here at our pergola, which overlooks the Hudson River, across that to the Palisades Cliffs in New Jersey.
A more secluded spot you can search for is called the Secret Garden.
So if they can find it, it's not on our maps. It offers a very quiet place to sit under the shade of a old blue atlas cedar. By coming here, you can get this fantastic view that overlooks our flower garden. Our flower garden design is based on an arts and crafts style garden that was very popular in England in the 1800s, and it rose out as against the Victorian style gardening, which was very organized, used a lot of annuals. And arts and crafts gardens, you would find them in front of cottages. It is exuberance of flowers that is kind of kept within borders.
Wave Hill is a great place to enjoy the arts. It has galleries, including a display of glorious chandeliers this summer, artist residencies, and classes for anyone feeling the urge to pick up a paintbrush. It's also famed for musical events, especially what the Director of Arts, Gabriel de Guzman, calls Sunset Wednesdays.
We have 5 Wednesdays in July and the beginning of August where we will be presenting amazing musical talents ranging from jazz to hip-hop to Latin music and even classical. It's such a beautiful setting to experience listening to music, and we have the backdrop of the Hudson River and the sun setting behind the Palisades. I really feel like Wave Hill is the place to be.
What is the history of this area?
It is also the traditional homeland of the Lenape people, who were the original stewards of the land. Eventually, the property was kind of sectioned up and wealthy families purchased it, built the first estates. And then as the railway was installed, it became a lot easier for people to live up here full-time. It wasn't just summer homes.
The Perkins family lived here in Glendore House in the 1900s, and they loved the view.
So the Palisades Cliffs in the early 1900s were getting blasted.
Blasted?
Yeah, blasted. Like they were using, I don't know, some sort of explosives to actually break apart the rock into smaller pieces to then use for railways and other construction. It was very loud. And Mr. Perkins, who lived here at the time, gathered different civic groups together and formed the Palisade Park Commission, and he was the first president of that organization that helped preserve our view today.
About 1960, the Perkins family gave the property to the city, and it was set aside to be shared. That's lucky for lots of brides and grooms who have gotten married here at the pergola.
We had a bride last year, I believe, and her father had said she took her first steps here, and now he's getting to walk her down the aisle.
Families have a great time at Wave Hill, so do school groups. And lots of people just love to sit in the unique 2-panel Wave Hill chairs.
It's kind of similar to like an Adirondack chair, but a little bit more elegant or modern.
A cherished building here is Wave Hill House. It currently holds a cafe, a conference center, a hall for receptions like for weddings. But back when this was a private estate, it was rented out. And many notables lived here, including Teddy Roosevelt, Arturo Toscanini, and Mark Twain.
The people who work at Wave Hill, like the Director of Horticulture, Cathy Deutsch, are proud that it is open all 4 seasons. She says the conservatory, an historic beauty, is very popular during the colder months.
January, February, and March, and that's a great time to get people to come in here and have a little warmth and vibrancy during the doldrums of winter.
Teams of gardeners keep each area of Wave Hill inviting. The herb garden is in the foundation of a long-ago greenhouse. The aquatic garden is notable as well.
The aquatic garden is quite formal. It has a series of pergolas that surround a rectangle-like pool that in the summertime is filled with all sorts of different plants, such as water lilies and lotus.
Wave Hill's website has spectacular pictures and a calendar of upcoming events.
We find that visitors really enjoy coming here just to relax and connect with nature and enjoy something beautiful.
I'm Donna Hanover for Arts in the City.
Whether it's the World Cup or the World Series, New Yorkers are serious sports fans. And now some of the most coveted trophies, from Olympic gold to the Stanley Cup, are on display at the American Museum of Natural History. Andrew Falzone takes us on a tour.
They're the stuff that every athlete's dreams are made of. Whether it's the Stanley Cup, the World Series, the NBA Finals, or Olympic gold, the objects that commemorate these historic athletic accomplishments are accessible to fans only through TV screens or VIP access. However, the American Museum of Natural History has a new exhibit that puts you up close with these artifacts. For the Win, Objects of Sports Excellence brings an incredible collection of championship rings, medals, and trophies into the museum's Hall of Gems and Minerals, turning the culture of winning into an exhibition you can walk through. And as FIFA World Cup 2026 comes to New York, AMNH is rolling out World Cup World Cultures programming that will include match screenings, a new goal zone soccer space, and science of sport activities for fans of all ages.
Recognizing that sports is something that's important to all of us, that it's a really common human pursuit and cultural pursuit. It's a really great opportunity to show the ways in which gems and medals have been shaped to tell stories about sports over the years and how people give them meaning and connection through sports.
While the gallery is small, it still manages to span nearly 150 years of sports achievements, and a number of New York-related milestones are included, like Yogi Berra's Babe Ruth crown, Justin Tuck's Super Bowl rings, and the New York Liberty's first ever WNBA championship trophy from 2024, accompanied by a glittering title ring owned by Breanna Stewart. There's the NWSL Championship Trophy lifted by the New Jersey New York Gotham Football Club, all sharing space with the 2021 MLS Cup, which belongs to the New York City Football Club, or NYCFC. The team's chief operating officer, Jennifer O'Sullivan, was proud to be a part of it.
When you look at this exhibit and you look at the items that have been curated and put here, and what they represent and what they stand for, and for our MLS Cup trophy from 2021 to be included in this is just, it's an exciting moment, and I think for us it just further cements how important that win was for us and what it represented for us in the city.
With more than 70 artifacts from more than 15 sports, there's something for every sports fan at the exhibit, and some of the pieces on display are incredibly historic. A collection of trailblazers who broke barriers en route to their accomplishments are found throughout the exhibit, celebrating not only just who won, but how it changed what winning could look like. There's Ali Krieger's historic FIFA Women's World Cup medal. Clarissa Shields may well be the Muhammad Ali of women's boxing, and her T-Rex championship belt is on display. Also included is Jackie Robinson's 1950 Top Performer Award and Jim Thorpe's 1912 Olympic medallion. Curator Vicky Toback says the exhibit is part history, part art.
So it took a lot of trust, on behalf of athletes, leagues, franchises, to actually, give these pieces that are in people's homes, are in locker rooms.
Perhaps the most prized and historic items on display are Jesse Owens' 1936 Olympic gold medal from the Berlin Games, alongside the Presidential Medal of Freedom awarded by President Gerald Ford in 1976.
That was at the Berlin Olympics, which is an Olympics which is just so weighted with importance in history, and the achievement that Jesse Owens did meant so much to so many, and to actually see his medal here for me is really deeply moving.
Serving as special advisor on the exhibit is Boardroom Sports co-founder Rich Kleiman. Prior to co-founding Boardroom with NBA superstar Kevin Durant, Kleiman was agent for the two-time NBA Finals MVP, and Durant's team, the Golden State Warriors, gifted Kleiman rings he cherishes from both championships. He says the sentimental value extends to the players as well.
They represent the people around them, the support they got. It represents the cold mornings they all have to wake up. And I think that when you hear athletes talk about the work, it's because they may have a God-given ability. But the work that needs to be put in and the repetition is what that kind of championship trophy and ring is really all about.
I'm Andrew Falzone for Arts in the City.
In the city that never sleeps, every second counts. Our Neil Rosen met up with author Matthew White, whose book, New York Minute, Public Clocks That Make the City Tick, takes a look at the timepieces that keep our hometown hustling.
If you walk around New York City, you may or may not notice that there are dozens of ornate public clocks all around you. Built primarily at the end of the Gilded Age, through the 1930s, these beautiful pieces of art served an important purpose. You see, back in those days, both pocket watches and wristwatches were an item that only the very wealthy could afford. So these clocks, in addition to looking extravagant, served a very functional purpose, namely to keep New Yorkers running on time. These beautiful large timepieces are located on skyscrapers, building lobbies, ornate train stations, on corners of buildings, and even on sidewalks. Now there's a new book, appropriately titled New York Minute, Public Clocks That Make the City Tick. In it, author, photographer, and illustrator Matthew White provides a fascinating tour of 53 spectacular New York clocks, encouraging us to look and behold the city in a new way. So you wrote a book all about vintage clocks in New York City. Where did this interest come from?
Well, my interest in clocks is really more aesthetic than functional. I'm a designer, and I approach everything through my eyes rather than mechanically. So I think that my love of clocks, especially New York clocks, is how they're placed and what they offer to the public. These are all public clocks in the book. My book was written in the hopes that people would pay more attention to our environment and get their faces out of their phones and look up for a change and see the beauty in our city. And I think that the clocks really represent that. The reason these clocks exist is for multiple reasons. Some of them were built for ego. A wealthy patron or a huge business wanted to show off by creating a really spectacular clock. A lot of them are obviously advertising clocks, and that included a lot of small businesses too, who wanted to, I think, join the party of creating these timepieces for the public, but they were also thinking about business. But I do think a big part of it was civic pride, and that's why so many of these clocks are so spectacularly beautiful.
Among the clocks you'll see in the book, New York Minute, are such classics as the one inside Grand Central Station, which has been a meeting place for New Yorkers for decades. Then there's the iconic clock on the outside of Grand Central, which stands over 48 feet tall and boasts the largest Tiffany glass installation in the world. In the book, you'll find marvelous clocks and stories about them, like the Yorkville clock that's behind me here, that's on 84th Street and 3rd Avenue in Manhattan.
That famous pocket watch clock was lost. Somebody bought it, put it in their garden, I think in Long Island. It was relocated by a very active group of citizens. The Friends of the Upper East Side restored the clock and reinstalled it, and now it's back where it belongs.
Other eye-popping gorgeous clocks in the book include the Surrogates Courthouse clock on Chambers Street. On the Upper East Side on 79th Street and 1st Avenue, you'll find this lovely corner clock. There's the clock in the New York Public Library on 5th Avenue, and the Delacorte Musical Zoo clock in Central Park.
My favorite street clock is on 5th Avenue, right across from Madison Square Park. It's a gilded clock. It's the most beautiful post clock, in my view, in New York City.
The oldest clock in the book was built in 1766. It's on 209 Broadway as part of St. Paul's Chapel and was built to get people to the church on time. Plus, there's also images of old clocks that have been lost to time, like the giant one in the old Grand Penn Station. You'll find dozens of more elaborate clocks in the book, and each one has their own unique story to tell.
Well, we're in the Moynihan Train Hall. As you know, was a former post office and turned into this beautiful station after the loss of Penn Station, the old Penn Station. But this clock is definitely, it's the only contemporary clock included in the book, because in my view, it's the only contemporary clock that stands on the shoulders of the beautiful clocks created in the past.
The wonderful book, New York Minute, Public Clocks That Make the City Tick, is available at your local bookstore or anywhere online where they sell books. Or go outside and take a look at some clocks for yourself. They're really beautiful and a wonder to behold. For Arts in the City, I'm Neil Rosen.
Never forget, it's a message amplified through a unique program that brings together Holocaust survivors and high school students, transforming lived experiences into stage productions. Holocaust survivor Lisa Holzkener was born in Morocco. Her family lived through those years with the help of Jewish partisans, part of the resistance movement against Nazi Germany. Though she was only a young child, she remembers both persecution and prejudice.
One day I was going to visit my paternal grandmother, and I was stopped by 3 teenagers, 2 girls and 1 boy, and took my school bag, beat me up, threw me on the floor, kicked me with their feet, spit on me with a slur, dirty Jew.
Ultimately, Lisa moved to New York and raised a family with her husband, Sam, a survivor from Dachau concentration camp. Now, she is part of Witness Theater, an intergenerational program that pairs high school students with Holocaust survivors to create original theater based on survivor stories.
We are running out of time for survivors to tell their stories to the community. There are less and less survivors that are capable of telling their stories and emotionally and physically able to do so.
Hanan Simon is the director of the Holocaust Survivors Program at Self-Help Community Services, which developed the theater project.
What's a scary thing is that there's already so much Holocaust denial in the world today, and it's just growing and growing. And the most effective way that I've seen to combat it is to hear from a survivor directly, from the people who were there. I think that's one weapon that we can use to combat anti-Semitism and teach the Holocaust, is to help to share the stories with a younger generation so that they can pass it on for a longer period of time, so that they can say, I met a survivor directly. This is not a story I read in a book. This is not a movie I saw. This is a story that a Holocaust survivor told me personally.
It's honestly been one of the coolest things I've ever done. Also, just hearing these stories makes the whole, Holocaust more real to me.
Mellow scene, okay.
The creative process here is guided by a licensed drama therapist over the course of a full school year. The students interview the survivors. The drama therapist then crafts first-hand accounts into scripts, which are then presented publicly each year. On stage, survivors narrate their histories, while students reenact pivotal experiences.
In the beginning of the program, when you bring together young teenagers and people who are in their middle 80s, upper 90s, it doesn't seem to be a connection there. There doesn't seem to be a lot in common. But we use various games and skills for them to get to know each other as human beings for many months until they finally actually tell the story of the Holocaust. So over time, they learn to learn about each other personally and also develop those bonds and develop that relationship and that trust.
The years melt away, and in their place, friendship grows.
With Lisa from the jump, she was always really kind to everyone. And just to portray her story was just an honor to me because we had a connection from the jump, so I really appreciate her.
Sometimes I feel I wish I can invite them home and cook for them.
I bet they'd like that too. The Tony Award-winning Broadway hit Cats, the Jellicle Ball, reimagines Andrew Lloyd Webber's classic Cats, setting it in the world of Harlem's queer ballroom culture. Patrick Pacheco, host of CUNY TV's Theater, All the Moving Parts, sat down with the show's co-directors and cast.
One of Broadway's most beloved musicals has been radically reimagined, and the result has critics, audiences, and Harlem's ballroom community on their feet. We're talking with the directors and cast of Cats, the Jellicle Ball. Andrew Lloyd Webber's Cats has been a global phenomenon since it first opened in London in 1981. But for a new generation of artists, the question wasn't whether to revive it, it was how to make it break new ground. The answer was to set the classical musical in the world of Harlem's queer ballroom culture, where community, identity, and reinvention take center stage. Directing the show are two artists who brought very different but deeply complementary visions to this reinvention. Bill Rausch is the inaugural artistic director of The Perelman, whose Broadway credits include the Tony Award-winning All the Way. Jalen Livingston is a Louisiana-raised director and activist who at 27 became the youngest Black director in Broadway history. Together, they have created something the New York Times calls a lightning strike. Jalen, how did you go about reinventing a show that had been around for 45 years that at the time was more of an event than a book musical?
Really what we're doing is putting this material in a new world. And so when I think about it, it feels less like we're reinventing the material and more so kind of allowing the material to emerge in this whole new way.
One of our mantras was any choice that we made had to be equally good for Cats and for ballroom. And if something felt authentic to ballroom but made no sense within Cats, then it was a wrong choice, and vice versa.
How much of T.S. Eliot's authorial spirit remains in the show?
Oh, so much of it, I think. We treat the piece like a piece of poetry, rather than it being either like a spectacle musical or a traditional book musical. I tend to try to think about the show as ultimately an event of poetry, so that when I hear the lyric, Jellicle Cats come out tonight within this context, I don't have to put anything else on it.
Jellicle Cats come out tonight. Jellicle Cats come one, come all. The Jellicle moon is shining bright. Jellicles come to the Jellicle Ball. Jellicle Cats come out tonight. Jellicles come to the Jellicle Ball.
You have done the work because of the context of the world that we're bringing you into.
Jalen, why do we need Cats now?
We need Cats now because people need to be assured that there is a place that they can be. And now more than ever, Broadway has an opportunity to be a place for people. It needs to be a place so that that 15, 16, 17-year-old queer kid who woke up after a certain day in November and questioned whether or not there was a space for them to go, we need to be able to answer them.
A production is only as electric as the performers who generate it. And Cats, the Jellicle Ball, has no shortage of that wattage. Andre DeShields is a Tony, Grammy, and Emmy Award winner whose Broadway legacy spans 5 decades, from The Wiz to Ain't Misbehavin' to Hadestown. He plays the elegant and wise Old Deuteronomy. Temperance Chastity Moore brings her distinct voice and poignant presence to the role of Grisabella the Glamour Cat. And Junior LaBeija is a celebrated figure in the Harlem ballroom drag world, making his Broadway debut as Gus, the theater cat. Andre, if you founded a house, what would you call it?
I have founded a house.
And what is the house's name?
It is the House of Black Elegance.
I know that's right.
I want to restore to our profession the idea that we, meaning people of color, come from a legacy of integrity, dignity, elegance, and we need to bring that in every effort that we make to the fore. I do it in everything that I essay. People say, Andre, you never change. And I say, and I never shall, in terms of what I invest in my characters.
How does Cats, the Jellicle Ball, meet this moment in history?
Because it's visual. It's not underground. It's not submerged like a submarine. Now that we have social media and artificial intelligence, you can get a history of what you never saw because it was hidden, not because it wasn't realized, but it was after hours.
Chastity, is Cats, the Jellicle Ball, an antidote to the poisonous atmosphere outside the theater?
I believe that, yes, it is a happy place. It is a joy. It is pure queer joy. Also, it shows, it humanizes the experience, first of all. Like trans and queer, like when they're trying to villainize us in these times. It also shows the nuances of emotions with us, like it humanizes the experience. And what I've said prior is that when you see a free world, you begin to fight for one. And it is a free world on stage. Like we are free, living in our truth and our full selves, having a wonderful time.
Well, you've delivered ecstasy night after night at the Broadhurst. Thank you for joining us. I think you'll be here around for a long time. Let's see how many lives this Cats has. Cats, the Jellicle Ball is now playing at the Broadhurst Theater on Broadway. I'm Patrick Pacheco, and we'll see you next time as the curtain rises on theater, all the moving parts.
That is our show for today. Thanks so much for joining us. A quick reminder to check us out on social media. We'd love to hear from you. I'm Carol Ann Riddell. We'll see you next time on Arts in the City. To support your favorite programming here at CUNY TV, please consider donating at tv.cuny.edu/donate.